named Roundwood, Sydney Roundwood.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Mr. Sydney Roundwood.
The latest Lardy Oddcast, as we return with a license to thrill and spill the beans about what's been happening on Lard Island. And here, in the very heart of my volcano lair, I'm joined by the Dr. Now and Ernst Stavro Blofeld of Wargaming, Nick Skinner and Richard Clark. Gentlemen, welcome to the Oddcast.
Ah, Sydney, I was expecting you.
Good evening, Mr. Roundwood.
Take it from that you've been to the James Bond film last night, Nick.
I have. I saw it last night. Yes, I did indeed. My lips are sealed. Worth going to see. It's got all the ingredients you'd expect of a Bond movie.
And are you playing Oddjob again, Richard?
No, they passed me over for Aide Deacon. Apparently, he's more appropriate size. They just couldn't get a hat small enough.
So have we Papa Shanga or Whisper then? I'm sure we can stick in with one of those. Very good. Well, it's been a while since we got together, but hopefully we are all very healthy. And as we record this, we stand on the very brink of what is lined up to be a fairly incredible emergence from lockdown. So our calendar's literally wall to wall with war game shows, conventions, Lardy Games days and the like. So I really wanted to catch up with you both and find out what you've been doing at what seems to be a pretty busy time.
Yeah, shows aside, which we're about to leap into with a vengeance, I've been tremendously busy with Strength and Honour, which is the latest set of rules that's due to be released by Reiswitz Press at some point, over the rest of this year. Busy in so many respects, going through, getting it ready for layout. We're at proofreading stage at the moment. So that's, we're at that stage where Mark has been working very hard at it for a long time now. And then it's come on to me and I've done my bit. And we're now at the stage where all the imponderables come in. So how long is it going to take to proofread? How long is it going to take to get ready for layout and so on and so forth? But yeah, that's been keeping us really, really busy. And of course, O Group, we've been doing a duplicate thing with Dave Brown's 1940 supplement for that, which is now actually being laid out. It's with the layout people. And we've got a meeting, at least a conversation with them on Monday or Tuesday to see where that's going. So next week's going to be really, really busy with new products. But I've been actually really busy. I got some of the new war bases cast metal units in the post yesterday. I was away for a couple of days with my wife, which was interesting. And when I came back, we had had a parcel from war bases. We've worked with war bases for a long time in terms of producing our items to support our rule sets, and they've been putting together a set of I wouldn't call them figures because they're unit blocks under the name of Antonine miniatures. And I've been dabbling with those, getting my 2mm armies ready. So there we go. There's a Roman legion in triplex axios. The base needs to be stained and then dry brushed and so on and so forth. But these are lovely units to paint. In fact, we've been talking to a number of companies who are working with us in terms of producing units to go with Strength and Honour. War bases are doing those in metal cast units, which fit as you can arrange as you like on their MDF bases. So they will come in a little pack where you've got the base and then the metal units which you can stick on. But we're also talking to Lasercast in Australia. They're producing MDF units, interesting medium, where they've got laser cut, whatever the word is, units which you can base up on bases of your choice. And we're also talking to a company in Italy called, well, not talking to, been working with. Mark's been working very closely with a company in Italy called Corel Miniatures. That's Korhyl. And they've been taking a different approach. They've been producing a one-piece cast resin, which is the base with the units already on it. So all you have to do is take them out of the packet and paint them up. So yeah, we're at that interesting stage where we're talking to all of our partners who are having a hand in the process, and all doing things maybe in their own way and taking a different part of the relay race as we hand the baton from one to another and get towards the finish line there. So yeah, really, really busy time with those two products. And Sid, you've been busy with another playtest with Flashing Blades.
Well, we have been playtesting with Flashing Blades at some pace, really. I mean, it's not really public playtesting as opposed to playtesting with friends. And when John Savage and Charlie came down to Lard Island earlier last month, we had a game there, but we've also played it a few times at the club. You and me have played it. Nick, we've played it as well. So yeah, it's coming along quite nicely. I think it's made me realise just how much there is to do with any sort of set of rules. You've got to write the rules, you've got to think about the rules, and you've got to play test the rules. Then you've got to kind of rewrite the rules from start again when the first one perhaps doesn't work as you really like it. But I think it's coming together. The first outing for that is in November, the first public outing. So that's a nerve-wracking thing to do. So I think you're going to be helping me with that, Nick, yourself, Richard, as well.
You write the theme tune, sing the theme tune.
Contracts are currently being negotiated for the rights in respect of the theme tune and singing the theme tune. We don't want any suggestions that we're pinching a 1960s title from Spanish television. Lord forbid. No.
Yeah.
But there's also
but you've got to fight for what you want, though, haven't you? At the end of the day.
Very well.
And all that you believe.
Indeed so. Indeed so. All for one and one for all, as they say.
Not in that song, program. They don't.
No, that's a different program. That's Dog Canyon.
Is it? Musker Hounds.
Yeah. You need to set the standard a bit higher, Sid. You're trying to tell everybody you're younger than us, but we know that isn't true.
Nick, Sid mentioned John and Charlie. John and Charlie, great friends of Lard. John, very instrumental in kicking us off with Infamy at the very outset of that. Also has been running the What a Cowboy project, and John produced a load of the fabulously painted units that we had in Infamy, the first part of Infamy. And Charlie, of course, has been very instrumental in testing with Strength and Honor and keeping everybody amused at Lardy Games days with his
exploits.
Vivacious behaviour, I think would be the word. Nick, tell us about the excitement of having those two superstars coming to join us on Lard Island.
Well, I could hardly contain myself, Rich, as you well know. It was the first time in ages we've been able to get anybody to come, what with COVID and everything. So reopening the doors and having such eminent worthies join us for that day was truly superb. We had some fun game of Infamy, and good to catch up with the guys and to share their stories of what they've been doing. And I think we've got a little bit of that we're going to listen to in just a moment. Yeah,
Sid gave us a bit of a flash of his blades, didn't he?
That was good fun. I did enjoy that hugely, Sid. And I know we're going to talk about that more and more and more and more, and it will bore us to death over the next few months. But it's as much fun as you can have in 18 inches of square war games table, I would say. And the fact that it's that sort of it's a war game within an RPG, mate. I don't know how you've done that, but it's looking really good.
It is most certainly a war game and not a role-playing game. Let's put that little trademark on the back of that. It is not a role-playing game. We all like to know that. Let's be very, very clear. Let's put it out to the world. It is not a role-playing game, Jeremy. Not a role-playing game.
No, absolutely. That was very much part of the design brief. As you say, we've got some... we can hear, actually, what John and Charlie thought about both Infamy Part 2, which I haven't actually mentioned yet, but we've been really, really busy with play testing that. And that's going to be getting their first public outing very, very soon. So they had a sneak preview of that, and they had a go at Flashing Blades. So let's, through the power of lard, let's go back in time to that sunny day in August where we sat sipping mint julep and playing in the sunshine on Lard Island.
Well, that was a fun game, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for that. We've just finished playing Flashing Blades, and we've had a morning of Infamy Part 2, which we haven't quite finished. We're going to be returning to that shortly, before an evening of pleasant dinner and maybe a couple of beverages. So we're joined here on Lard Island by Charlie and John, the Chuckle Brothers of wargaming, and they've come down to Lard Island for a day. So tell me, chaps, you've had a bit of a taster of two of the projects we're working on at the moment. But what have you enjoyed, and what have you hated?
Oh, there's a question, isn't it?
And I'm paying for dinner this evening, so just remember that.
Oh, okay. Well, I think I've enjoyed. I'm enjoying the elephant in Infamy 2, which I think, not seen that before, and that's proving somewhat interesting. I'm not sure Charlie's quite as impressed about my elephant.
Yes, that might be the bit I hate at the moment.
You really have been the elephant man of wargaming today, haven't you, John? And it's we've just got to the point where it's collided with the Romans. The Romans have met it with a formed up body which has not probably been the best answer to it, and they've suffered a bit of shock as a result of that collision, haven't they?
They have.
So we're kind of that sort of Saturday morning TV point where we're on a cliff edge, wondering what's going to happen next. So we're going to find that out. But we had a break for a game with Flashing Blades, which Sydney has been working on. What do you reckon to that, chaps? How have you enjoyed that?
Brilliant. I really enjoyed dispatching Souffle.
You flattened Souffle, didn't you?
Yeah.
As soon as Souffle emerged from the shadows, which is what the Cardinals Guard tend to do.
Yes.
And which is Sid's very clever method of deploying troops onto the table.
Yeah.
And he was immediately run through by a brutal musketeer.
And my main character, the Chevalier de Visquez, emerged then to challenge his killer to a duel. But you refused, Charlie, in a totally ungentlemanly manner. Why did you refuse to fight as a gentleman would, mano and mano, and insist on calling one of your ruffians in to turn it into more of a brawl in a totally ungentlemanly fashion?
It's more my style, Rich. But the truth is, if he was a true gentleman, he would have challenged my Chevalier de Sorbet, who was rather better.
That's true. I was actually picking on you because you look like the sort of run to the litter, really. Not personally, Charlie, although, if the cat fits. John, tell us about your Flashing Blades experience.
Oh, fabulous. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't realise I was actually such a good swordsman. But no, great fun. I think the mechanics are really good, but it's really quick. And I like the way actually it bounces between the two sides very quickly, but you're engaged all the time as well, I think, which is really good. I loved it.
So what was the narrative of your characters? What would you say happened? You were what was your mission, first of all?
Well, we had to find the Veronique de Verona, Italian lady in waiting to the Queen, who was had disappeared in this rather shady part of Paris.
It's seedy, isn't it?
It is seedy. That's a good word. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
seedy. So we've been sent to find her. Charlie did a bit of gentle interrogation of some passers-by.
Washing women.
Which he does quite frequently,
Yeah.
accosting washerwomen in the street. But yes, so we were.
And what did they tell you, Charlie? What did the washerwomen?
They told me that the serving lady at the inn has a hint of an Italian accent.
Right. And she makes a cracking bolognese, probably.
Yeah. Now you see that bit of intelligence put them on the front foot, whereas we didn't have that.
No,
So
between the two of us, we had no intelligence
well,
at all.
we were looking for a milady, so we go straight to the bathhouse to see if we can spot her in a state of undress by peering through the back windows of all the buildings in the area.
That's right.
And it failed. We didn't manage that.
You sent your roughest characters into the bathhouse looking for a lady.
Well, we did it John Wayne style. So the Chevalier went in the back. The Chevalier went in the back door, whilst Jurgen the German went in the front.
I thought it was more Benny Hill style. To be honest with you, it was all a bit slightly distasteful.
It was done very professionally, but unfortunately there was nobody in it.
No.
Well, there was certainly nobody in once you'd arrived.
No, nobody in the bathtub. There was no smell of fragrance and rose petals.
No.
So we'd obviously got the wrong place, sadly, which cost us dear because it took those two guys out of the fight.
Yeah, and we lost a couple of people. I mean, Charlie mowed down one of our
souffle.
Fallen souffle. He was a cadet. He mowed him down immediately. And then, John, you were fighting up the alley, weren't you? And then you pushed me back into the square.
Pushed you back in the square. I think you came back strongly, though. You broke contact, then recharged in and wounded my character.
Yeah.
But luckily, he was able to step aside and let slightly better his compadre move up. And with a quite devastating attack, dispatch your guy in a flurry of blows.
And that was it. That was our morale went, and we legged it.
All for one.
And the Shona from Verona emerged from her hiding place to give you all the news from the king and queen or whatever. So your mission was completed successfully. Yeah, good. Well, it's been great fun, and it's been nice to have a chat with you now. And I think what's next is we're going to go back in there and finish that game.
It was fantastic to have Charlie and John join us for the day. We had such a good laugh, and it was just nice to be back gaming with somebody in the same physical space and enjoying a nice drop of fizz as well at lunchtime, and a nice drop of stout in the evening, washed down with some very nice food in a local Italian restaurant, which looked after us very nicely. And we were able to get some commitment from John at that time as well, for him to give us something for Lard magazine. And managed to get him in the corner and said, "Hey John, you've given us some really good stuff in the past for Lard magazine. How about something this year?" And he's already given us something around sharp practice in the Sudan for Lard magazine, and an infamy campaign. So let me tell you a little bit about what's happening with Lard magazine, shall we? You happy to move on to talk about that for a moment? Because in terms of what I've been doing, well, I've been starting the process of getting Lard magazine lined up. We've got some good new contributors. I'm really hopeful that this year will be one of our biggest, well, will be the biggest and best Lard magazine ever. We kind of say that every year. And I think the input we're getting from across the globe now in terms of articles and scenarios and supplements that we get coming in is fantastic. We've got at least 3 chain of command pint-sized campaigns that we think are going to be coming through in Lard magazine. One in Normandy, an Arnhem-linked campaign, possibly 2 campaigns set in the Rhineland for that. We're going to have some really good stuff on Bag the Hun as well this time. Jim Jackerman has already sent through some thinking around an article he's calling Red Star Rampant. You may remember, Rich, that we did an article called Blue Swastika Rampant, which was around the Winter War and the Finns. Yeah. Well, Jim's done a piece around the Khalkhin Gol sort of incident where the Japanese and the Russians are fighting each other, with a series of linked things around that. So this year, in terms of Lard magazine, we're hoping to get it out as usual in early December. So it means the next month's going to be filled with getting that straight. But we've got some really good stuff in the pipeline. And if you still want to contribute, by the way, if you're out there in listener land, we'd really like to have more contributions, especially actually sharp practice is a little bit underrepresented at the moment. So if you've got any sharp practice ideas, we'd love to hear from you about that. And if you've got a scenario or a mini campaign, whatever, we'd like to hear about that. So yeah, that's really what I've been doing in terms of Lard magazine. Rich, you looking forward to it? What are you going to be writing? Are you going to be picking up your pen for anything this winter, or are you just on that now?
I am, but to be honest with you, I'm so immersed in the other stuff that I've got on my plate at the moment. And with all the stuff we've got coming through, and I know we're going to be talking about what we've got in our diaries, but I am, my diary, Sid mentioned wall to wall. I mean, it's wall to wall, but it's also floor to ceiling. My diary coming up. So I've got quite a few ideas. I'm very keen to actually produce a set of rules for the Franco-Prussian War with sort of brigade level actions. So, talking about 6-7 battalions, maybe a battery of guns, that type of thing. That's something that I've had in my mind for a long time. And that's also tied in with the tactical Kriegsspiel that I'm, trying to work on for 1866. So I've got lots of ideas rattling around in my mind. And undoubtedly, I'm going to be writing something. Quite what it's going to be, I don't know. What about you, Sid? Are you going to be putting quill to vellum?
Well, I was just going to say, when you mentioned the Franco-Prussian War, I saw one of your tweets this week, Richard. I haven't been tweeting very much, been quite busy with various different things. But I did like the fact that you didn't want to look at a new book because it would sort of inspire you to do something which you shouldn't be doing and distract you. Yeah. I thought that was something we can all share with.
I think that's right. Yeah. It's so dangerous. You put a period in front of me, and as that book especially was the War of 1866 in Germany, and that is one of my much loved. Well, I would say if I was on the desert island with one period to war going, that would be it. And I know that looking at that book will mean that everything else I'm working on just doesn't happen in the time schedule that I want it to, so I daren't touch it.
But to answer your other question, yeah, I'm going to do a couple of articles for the special, like last year. There'll be one terrainy article, which I've got already started, and there's an article which I think I'll probably do on flashing blades or with flashing blades or something like that, because I think that it's a good thing to sort of, develop interest in that. Otherwise, we're just kind of wasting our time. And a lot of people have asked me for a bit more information about it. So I thought Lard magazine would be the place to put that.
So last year you wrote about small footprint terrain, Sid. Does that mean we're going to get big footprint terrain this year, or large hand terrain, something like that?
Well, you just have to wait. You just have to wait and see. It's not going to be large hand terrain, although that would be interesting. I don't know what that would look like. Probably
well, talking of terrain, I've been having some fun with terrain recently. I've been still building Dutch buildings and working on stuff. I've got a very nice church from Total Battle Miniatures that I wanted to make look like a brick church. So I had to do a bit of work on it to put some of that engineer, brick pattern, print out some paper bricks and put that around the building. And it went really, really well until the point when I spray varnished it and the whole thing went cloudy.
Oh, no.
But I don't know if this is a general tip or not, but I was able to wash it with one of those Citadel contrast browns.
Yeah.
And that brought the whole thing back to life again, and it absolutely saved me from a calamity, because it was looking great, and then 30 seconds later it looked like I was going to have to throw it in the bin, and then by the next morning it was looking great again. So I'm really pleased with that. I've been having lots of fun with terrain and doing small things on and off. I've been really busy with other stuff, but getting into the hobby space and just getting a few building things through lined out. When I was at Clotted Lard, for instance, I managed to pick up 2 new buildings from Ham and Jam that Jeff had made, and they look sensational. Again, they're Normandy themed. They're in that kind of Normandy grey, but his range of buildings is now super impressive, and
they get better and better, don't they?
Yeah, they do. He's got some really nice shaped buildings. He's got a little L-shaped farmhouse now with a lean-to, and a farmhouse that looks very much like the Belle-Alliance, actually. Kind of a long one with a lean-to on the end. So all kinds of shapes and designs, and they're really good. Really good quality as well. Rich, even you can throw them across the room, and they would survive.
That range is really, really coming together nicely. I mean, the real quality in those, and they look good, but they also feel really good. They've got a good weight to them, so it's a really nicely developing range, which I think he's basically done from his garden shed. I mean, it's just proof as to what people can do. You mentioned about Mark's figures previously, and the gentleman in Italy has been producing those resin cast bases. I mean, that's another project which just started really from nothing. I mean, it's just wonderful, people's invention and people's ingenuity.
And I think there's a good point about Coral Miniatures and Jeff's Ham and Jam buildings. They're off the peg, really, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
And they don't need to assemble them; they're ready.
No need at all. That's right.
Which is big plus. When time, I've got loads of buildings in MDF flat pack that I bought maybe 2 years ago, and even with lockdown and having an opportunity to try and go in and get up to date, I haven't managed to do them all, which is crazy. Whereas if I bought them off the peg from Jeff, a Ham and Jam, it would be there you go, it's done, it's on the shelf.
Yep.
Excellent stuff. Well, these are very much busy times for all of us, which is a good thing. Lockdown has not dimmed our love of the hobby and of meeting people, and that leads me to take a look at our Lard diary. So we open the big book, and normally we have a big issue to discuss on the Oddcast, but I guess the biggest issue of all is really the amazing amount of events which are about to happen in the wargaming hobby, which mirrors life in general, really. I mean, Nick, you were at the very first post-COVID Lardy Games Day down at Clotted Lard in Exeter. So I wanted to ask you very much, I couldn't make it, but how did that go?
It went superbly well. So Bob Connor is behind is the mastermind behind Clotted Lard. I think this was Clotted Lard 3, although it was the 4. I couldn't work out the numbering system for Clotted Lard. It seems to have gone 1, 2, and then the numbering system seems to have broke. But anyway, this was Clotted Lard 3. Bob had a group of, I don't know how many gamers there were in there, about 40 maybe, came together.
More than that. I think it was about 55.
It's split across 2 rooms, of course, in Clotted Lard, which is quite nice actually, because it means that you're not feeling too overwhelmed. It was the first games day back after COVID. It was great to see people again. It was really odd to go into a room and not shake their hand, though. That was a bit weird. You kind of don't really know what to do when you're seeing people for the first time in 18 months. You can't give them a big fat kiss, and you can't sort of give them a cuddle. You can't hold their hand. So it was felt a bit uncomfortable with some of that kind of what we needed to do there, but it was lovely to see people. People were clearly enjoying themselves. Some superb games, as always, on display at these events. I was really lucky to meet some new guys as well, and to talk to them, and to play some games with some old friends. I was with Jim Ibbotson in the morning, playing a fantastic AWI game that he did. What Jim is really good at is creating a really immersing game. Immersive,
I think
that's the word. I think that's what I'm looking for. Without many figures. So Jim Sharp Practice Games, the really good thing he does is he has great games with few figures on the table. And I think it's really tempting to put more and more on, but Jim does more with less. And that was good fun as well. We introduced some new guys to Sharp Practice during that game too, which was good. And we were on the verge of winning it. And then guess what? I made a boob. I made a fatal boob and almost wrestled defeat from the jaws of victory. But it was really good fun to do that. And in the afternoon, I played a Trojan War adaptation of Ducks, which is rather fun and involved lots of personal kudos points by making claims of what you're going to do, bravado, and I'm gonna kill Ajax and Achilles or whatever, and dip his body in the river, that kind of thing, and then get some kudos for how that goes down, how well that's received. So it was good fun, really good fun. And I was lucky enough when I was there also to find some time to talk to some people about Clotted Lard. We had some guys that were there who hadn't been before, and I wanted to talk to them a little bit about what it felt like and what they thought the concerns and risks were about coming back to a game in a physical space with people. And I think we can listen to a little bit of that right now.
So we're at Clotted Lard, we're at lunch break, and I've just found a group of guys who have been busy playing games this morning, and we'll just have a little bit of a conversation about what it's like to come back and game together after not being able to for so long, to talk a little bit about the experience of, thinking about coming to Clotted Lard and being in a room full of gamers and that kind of stuff. So, gents, when you just tell us first of all who you are and where do you come from?
I'm Peregrine. I come from Wiltshire. This is my second Lardy event. I went to the one in Southampton back in spring 2020, just before lockdown.
And that was the last event before lockdown.
It was.
And this is the first Lardy event since lockdown was lifted. So
Yep.
so your gap is we've all experienced at least that.
Absolutely.
How does it feel to be back doing it again?
Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. Well, these Lardy events are great. You meet people who, have got similar interests, who've got a similar mindset. I don't think you ever see a rules lawyer at a Lardy event. It's great. I love them.
And
Want to do more.
Yeah, and Neil, tell us a bit about you. Where are you from?
I'm from Tavistock, or near Tavistock. This is the first Lardy event I've been to. It's really good. Really enjoying it. And I'm playing a game, Sharp Practice, that I've only played once before as well, but haven't played Chain of Command a lot.
Yeah.
It's quite easy to pick up the rules. It's great. I mean, it's a bit, I guess the COVID thing, it's a bit scary in some respects to be in a group of, 40 odd people in there, so you're a bit worried about that, but once you sat down at the table, that kind of goes and creeps back a little bit, I guess, in the lunch break, but not really. So and it's good to be throwing some actual dice again.
Some dice. Yeah. Do
rather
you
than doing
feel
online
you're
things.
rolling a dice by coming back though? Does it feel like you're taking a risk to come here and?
Well, it obviously is a risk, but what is it's one in whatever.
Yeah.
There's a lot more chance of me losing an officer again in a game of Sharp Practice than there is of me catching, or all my officers in Sharp Practice than losing.
Well, having
COVID
lost
or
one of
anything
my
like
own this morning in a game of Sharp Practice.
So there is, of course, there absolutely is a risk, but it's not a significant risk. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here, would we? The organisers would have done what they've done sensibly across the COVID period of being shut.
Yeah.
So, it's been great.
So Peregrine's is your second one. This is your first one.
Yeah, I applied for the one that you went to, but I only spotted it really late, so I was on the wait list about 20 down the line and didn't get in. But this is my first one.
Okay.
So interesting to play games that I've not played a lot.
Okay. And what about you, sir? What's your name? Sorry.
I'm Dominic.
Dominic.
I hang around with Neil on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So, my day job is as a teacher, so this hasn't been much of a stretch at all for me. I'm used to being in situations where we've had to work all the way through lockdown. So not even a consideration at all. Not really. Not
probably less risky, is it?
Yeah, in many ways. Yeah, but what's been very interesting, because this is my first LAR event, but because we wargamed regularly together, missing that social interaction for 18 months was that was stressful. We ended up doing a lot of Zoom, Friday night Zoom quiz, but it's quizzes, not the same. Yeah. It's not the same. There's so much that we get from this as sort of individuals, human beings, just being able to get around a table and talk to one another, meet new people.
Zoom was good though. I mean, I started Zoom gaming with a guy in Newcastle who I'd never met. I only met him on Facebook. Now really good friends with him. We send each other rules and notes and all sorts of stuff. And when I finally got him onto a Zoom game of Chain of Command, it was the first face-to-face game he'd ever played in his life.
Wow.
Because he'd been solo playing all that time.
Yeah.
And so you made some new friends doing that.
Yeah.
And also my regular group, it's 4 of us, we meet on a Thursday. We Zoomed every week. We did Chain of Command on Zoom every week. Which drove me absolutely crackers. Had to run around tables. Can you check the angle on this? Can you check the angle on that? Can that tank see this? But it was really good. And but the social interaction that was missing, definitely.
But I agree with Dominic. I mean, there is something about just coming together and just getting the feel of it, just being at the table while other people are playing, just enjoying a bit of a crack with them.
Yeah. Well, you can see that you get the whole experience that way, don't you? You get the terrain. I mean, there's some lovely terrain in there. You've got all the beautiful figures that you can actually pick up and move, and you can see things clearly, like all the tokens and what the whole. You get the whole picture as well, then, rather than a camera angle on Zoom or whatever it might be. No matter how well they might be put together, and you're just with people again. So, you know, I mean, especially for someone like me who's been effectively isolating for 18 months, not, you know, we just pretty much stayed at home and just gone out and done the shopping, and it's kind of about it. And so it's great to be back amongst
the living.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've also got somebody else skulking in the corner who's hoping I'm not going to speak to him, but for the benefit of the tape, Mr. Andy Crow, tell us who you are.
I'm Andy Crow.
Oh yes, there you are. And you've been running games this morning as well. So, but you've also been doing stuff at Big, have you, in Bristol already in advance of this?
So I guess we're quite fortunate. The place I go to play, Bristol Independent Gaming, as you said, has been back up and running for a few months now. So we've been doing face-to-face
at a new venue as well.
Brand new venue over in the southwest of Bristol. Go and check it out if you're in the Bristol area. It's excellent. Sure, don't get paid for saying that, sadly.
So, did anything cross your mind at all about coming here today? Thinking, I don't want to go because
the only thing that did cross my mind, I was very aware, because I think there's a difference psychologically between going gaming with your group of friends and gaming with relative strangers. Everyone's so perfectly nice, but people that you don't know and come from all different areas of the country. So I was wondering, would there be kind of extra measures in place? But actually, I think we're quite fortunate with the venue that we have here. It's a nice, big, open, airy space, able to open the doors, lots of airflow through. Obviously we've got 40 people in a hall, but the games are quite relatively spaced out.
And there's 2 rooms as well.
Yeah, exactly, 2 different rooms. So actually, once everyone's kind of getting down to it, you're almost in your own little bubbles in a way. Yeah.
So there's some sanitizer around. I've seen some sanitizer, some sanitizer. As you say, windows are open. One of the victims of COVID is the scones that we enjoy at Potter's.
Alas,
there are no scones this year. Did you know that?
I want a refund. No scones. I want a refund.
I think it's
but we have avoided the. Is it the?
Didn't you sneak in anyway?
I should have had. All right. I should have. But we avoid the jam and the cream.
That's right. So we can't get the jam.
That
so there's no scones. So COVID has killed the scones off, but actually it hasn't killed off anything else, has it? I've seen people around games enjoy themselves, laughter. You guys have been playing Bag the Hun, and you've been laughing at it as well, which is probably somebody's laughing at somebody's ill fortune, no doubt. But there've been some, I've heard chuckles from across the room. So I think the psychological benefits of it outweigh the risks, we think.
Yes, and I think it's
based on no science whatsoever.
This doesn't feel any different.
Put my white coat on and agree with you. Yeah.
The laughing, Nick, was when you told us when you came over to our game and told us how we had to make the noises and the sound effects.
That's right. Yeah. Looked like you enjoyed yourself.
That was our laughing.
I think even in a moment like this, where we're just coming together, this is something that's very relaxing, isn't it? I mean, that's what you don't get. I mean, I'm a big fan of Zoom. I really am, but this is what I've missed. Yeah, meeting new people, making new friends,
and going having a beer later.
That sort of connection, absolutely.
And it's also, isn't it? 'Cause it's funny because when you get together as a group of gamers like you do, with your mates and I do with mine, the first 10 minutes it's banter, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
What you've been doing this week, what you've been doing, and then
is that what it's meant to be?
And, well,
we've been doing it wrong all these years.
It can be longer.
It's usually about 3 hours of banter.
It can be longer, and you don't get that in Zoom, do you? You just don't get it. It's not the same. No, because you're all talking over each other when you do that.
Yeah, there's almost you have to learn that new sort of internet etiquette of whose turn it is to speak.
Yeah. Well, so what are you playing this afternoon? Peregrine, what's your game for this afternoon?
I am doing that Chain of Command in 72, Mirbat, the one with the lots of hairy Arab people with turbans trying to attack British SAS.
Yeah, I saw that played out this morning.
I'm looking forward
to that. Game, yeah. Neil, what are you playing?
I'm playing the same as Dominic. We're playing, it's a World War II Chain of Command. Is it somewhere in the Ardennes?
It is somewhere in the Ardennes. So
we don't know where in the Ardennes. I think it's called somewhere in the Ardennes.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's the table with white cloth on it. He says, just to show how good I am at World War II knowledge.
That will be really good. So Jeff's got some lovely toys.
Did I get that right?
And the toys on the Chain of Command game, Peregrine, you were talking about, they look nice too. Andy, what are you doing?
I'm doing AWI shot practice this afternoon.
I played that game this morning. I can give you all the tips about what to not do. Okay, right, guys, thank you very much for talking to us. I hope you have a fantastic rest of day. Really glad that you made the effort to come and bring yourselves and all the fun that you brought with you to this event. Bob's done a fantastic job putting it together, and I'm sure he'll tell us what a fantastic job he's done.
I'm sure he will. Several times already.
Thanks very much, gents. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Brilliant.
You're welcome.
That's a really great recording, and that sounds like a really great event. And one of the things that I would like to mention to you, Nick, is that you mentioned to me earlier on that you'd raised £750 for combat stress, which is obviously a fantastic cause. and that's tribute to everyone who went there very much.
Yep, I think, and tribute especially to Bob. Bob was the mastermind behind it. The downside was that this year in the COVID world there were no scones at Clotted Lard, but we'll forgive Bob that, because everything else, of course, he was mastermind at, and he got loads of good guys together. And I know he had some problems with dropouts and people changing their needs at the last minute, etc. But Bob, so well done to Bob for that. And yeah, brilliant to everybody for raising that money. Well done. And there were some nice little stories there too. So for instance, I met up with a guy who came along with something rather unusual, and we can just hear from him in just a second, Sid, because he's got something rather special for you. So you might need to do your you might need a bit of a different theme tune for this. I think, Rich, if you can rustle up something a little different for this little piece of intro.
So here we are, Clotted Lard, taking a break from the gaming action because we've got an exciting artifact from history. I'm with Lawrence, and he's got what looks to be like an old military...
I think it's his gas bag.
Gas bag, yeah. And in that gas bag is something wonderful. Let me. If I make a noise like that, give you a clue what it is. Lawrence, what are we looking at?
Pair of clogs. Small clogs.
Small pair of clogs. Now they look like they might fit a small child. They look to be about size 5 in infants, something like that.
Yes.
So what's the story behind these? They're obviously handmade.
Well, my dad was obviously he was in the 15th Scottish Division through the Second World War. Went through from Normandy all the way up through into Kiel, I think he ended up.
Yeah.
And as part of that, ended up going through Holland, and he acquired souvenirs.
So we've got, there they are, a pair of wooden clogs, as I say, about size 5. I think I've tweeted some photos of them. They're, underneath he's got written in pen, I think, it says Byro's written there, Holland 1944, and then underneath that it says BLA, which we think British Liberation Army. So he's gone all the way out there, a real artefact from history that you shared with us today, and you brought it along because you know that we love clogs on the Oddcast.
Oh, yes.
And we have a special affinity to our friends in Holland. So these are really wonderful. Now, on Antiques Roadshow, they give you a price for those. How many hundreds of thousands do you think they're worth?
Oh, I don't think they'd be worth much.
Priceless as a family artefact. So you've got them, you're going to hand them down through your family, and in 100 years' time...
I'll keep them, along with the few other bits he acquired.
Brilliant. Well, they are wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing them with us.
Well, that is a wonderful story. That's brilliant. When people bring things to you at shows and things. I always remember we had a games down to Brook once, and Panda brought in something very similar from his grandfather. I think he'd been at Tobruk, or served in the Western Desert, and there was books and manuals and hats and all sorts of stuff like that. So it's really great when people do that. Anyways, we record this. It's the very start of October, and this coming weekend is our first war game show at Partisan near Newark. And Partisan, many of you probably know, is probably the premier UK wargaming show in a number of ways. It's not as big as Salute, which we also know and love very much, but it has a reputation for producing some outstanding games and being a really big, nice, airy venue with a great atmosphere. So I think we're going to be in attendance, or you guys are anyway. What are you going to be doing up there, guys?
Well, the nice thing about it being airy is that, a bit of social distancing, and, I think we'll be able to, feel fairly safe in a post-COVID world, if post is the correct term. But yeah, we're going to be running a game there. We're going to be trading there as well. Actually, Emma's going to be up there running the trade stand. I'm going to be running a game of, I'm going to be running a game of Infamy, but it's not going to be the Infamy that we released during lockdown. This is actually going to be a playtest game going towards the second part. We're going to be doing some stuff from the Second Punic War. I'm very keen to take some of these ideas out on the road. I know really technically people would say you should play test things to death before you let people have a look at it. But I think one of the best ways to judge how well you're doing in terms of developing a game is to let people have a look at it, let people have a go at it. And if it breaks, it breaks. And you learn from that because you tend not to break your own stuff because you know what you mean by it. So it's always great to get other people involved, and we're going to be doing that. So that should be looking nice and pretty. And I know we've got some other really good stuff going on at Partisan, and I wish I had the list in front of me, but I know there's some other games there, Chain of Command, for example, and I believe John Savage is running a game, but I'm not entirely sure what he's doing because he had a number of plates that he was spinning, so we'll see which one comes crashing down onto the table. Nicholas?
It's normally a hotbed of sharp practice at Partisan, isn't it? I know it's one of those places where I walk around and there's a sharp practice game, you turn around, there's another one behind you. So, I'm hoping that we'll see lots of that there too. And John's, I think, sharp practice, or is he maybe doing Infamy? I'm not quite sure now. I can't remember.
Who knows? He might even be doing What a Cowboy. I mean, who knows?
Oh, he might.
John is such a wild card.
So, Sid, shame you're not coming. You wouldn't know which outfit to wear.
Well, I'd like to say that's the reason I'm not coming, that I've got wardrobe difficulties, but I'm actually managing a football team every Sunday this year. So I've got my manager's coat for that one, my big sheepskin coat.
Premier League?
Sadly not Premier League, unless it's the West Hertfordshire Youth Premier League.
Do you give him a hairdryer, do you? Do you give him a hairdryer?
I think you have to have a police record check before you can do that now, can't you?
Oh, that's all been done. I passed with that, much obviously to your astonishment. But no, I went through the DBS check, okay. But no hair dryers yet. We run the first 2 games, so sure that'll be deployed later in the season.
Well, when it's raining at Partisan and the rain is streaming down outside, we'll be nice and safe inside, nice and warm, playing war games, and you'll be standing on the touchline freezing your nuts off.
As I have done for the last 8 years, every Sunday morning. Yeah, that's fine. I'm used to it by now. But yeah, but think of me. But that's all part of the fun.
So you're such a hero, Sid. What else have we got lined up in the calendar then, Rich? What else is happening?
Well, remarkably, Nate, we've got Partisan this coming weekend, and then right after that, we've got Selwyn. Now, that's not South London like what it normally is. It's North London. And that's going to be at the Lee Valley Athletics Centre, which is a venue I know very well because Emma, who's also going to be there running the date stand, used to compete in athletics there a lot when she was doing her Olympic trials and stuff like that. I know the venue very well. It's a sports centre with a big running track. I'm not sure how it's going to be configured, but it's again, it should be very spacious with lots of room to manoeuvre. So I'm really looking forward to see how that one pans out. There's a huge car park next to it, although I have noticed that over half of that is given to an NHS COVID testing centre. So I'm not sure what the parking's like, but I'm sure there'll be ample.
That'll be useful. We could just make sure that everybody gets tested before they come in. I think some people might still be nervous about going to shows. So I think the fact that they're in bigger, well-ventilated venues is massively important, actually, to get that confidence back into bringing people out into those shows.
Well, it needs to be a big venue, mate, and there's a reason for that. We don't just have one Lardy game present. We don't just have 2 Lardy games present. We have 3 Lardy games present. Dave Brown, Housewife's favourite, Dave Brown, the godfather of wargaming in many respects, will be there running O Group. We've got Mark Backhouse with another Riser Express author with Strength and Honour, giving that the first real public show outing. So he's going to be there doing that. And I'm going to be running Infamy again. I'm going to be doing more Punic Wars with Infamy, which so it's going to be lard is all around us. It's everywhere I go. So we should have some fun there. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it should be good. I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the new venue. It's a lot more convenient for us, the new venue. So selfishly, that's hopefully going to be a good day out. And I think it would be nice to. I think it probably will draw some different people in from north of the river, into the show. So I hope those from south of the river are still able to make the journey too. That would be a good event there. So Lardies around that southeast of England, now is your time. Rise up and come and see us at Selwig.
Absolutely. Do you know what? So that's this week coming planned, and then the following week planned, and the following week after that, I'm in near Harrogate, in between Harrogate and York, for Ebor Lard, which is going to be one of my first Lardy Games days of the year. I was able to pop in briefly to Clotted Lard because I was actually on my way back from my holiday and drove past the door, so nipped in. But for me, Ebor Lard is going to be the first real Lardy Games day that I've done since Southampton. Was that at the beginning of last year? I can't.
That was right at the beginning of lockdown, wasn't it? About the 7th or 8th of March.
Yeah. At that time, I recall we recorded a show in the car, and one person had died of COVID in the UK at that point in time. So it really was the start of it all, and we just weren't sure how far it was going to go and what was going to happen and what a ride we've had. So this is going to be my first games day. Very much looking forward to that. I'm going to be running games all day there, which again is going to be infamy part 2 because we're giving that a run out. What I might do there is do a bit of Servile Wars. I'm Spartacus.
No, I'm Spartacus.
I think you probably are. So that's going to be good. And then after that, the following weekend, believe it or not, I don't just have one event, I've got 2. I'm in Bristol on the Saturday for Gert Lush Lard. And then on the Sunday, the 31st, I'm in Cambridge for the Society of Ancients Conference. And I'm going to be running Infamy at both of them, which is fairly predictable, really. But so the next month is just crazy mad.
So the Society of Ancients is going to be pretty interesting. Is that their first formal exposure to infamy?
Well, I don't know whether I'm going to be formally exposing anything, Sid, but I hope some of the guys at the Society of Ancients will be able to come along and have a look at the game for the first time, and maybe some of them who've played it before. So I was talking to the guy organising it there, and he was hoping to have one game in the morning, I think, for veterans of infamy, and one game in the afternoon for virgins touched for the very first time. So it's going to be a busy weekend, at the end of which I think I may be fortunately Adam Brooks is very close to Cambridge, so I know that I can get a bed there to recover.
Well, that sounds absolutely brilliant. That really does sound like you've got a lot on. But after that, even after Gert Lushland and Society of Ancients conference, we've got Salute on the 13th of November.
I want to ask a question, Sid, because we can't move on yet. Because Gert Lushland, okay? I've seen this being asked online. What is Gert Lush? I mean, people are listening to this thinking, what is Gert Lush? Does anybody know where that comes from?
Well, the names of the Lardy Games days all have a sort of local connection and connotations. So Ebor Lard obviously is in York, Clotted Lard in Devon because of clotted cream teas and so on and so forth. And Lush, as you would know from having studied in Wales when years ago when you were in Borstal there, Lush means great or lovely, and Gert, I believe, is Bristolian for very. So it'd be a very lovely lard, I think, if it wasn't being said in West Country.
Gert Lush Lard. Right, okay.
That's it. You have to drink 8 pints of cider first and fall over and then pronounce it, and then you get the true West Country effect.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So sorry, Sydney, please go on now. You were telling us about Salute, I think.
Well, I was just going to mention that Salute is the next one on the calendar, the 13th of November, which is also the weekend of Historicon in the Valley Forge Casino Resort in Pennsylvania, the great state of Pennsylvania. And I believe Lard America has a large presence there. Richard, you've been in touch with Ed Bowen in the US, and I think you've got a bit of information there to tell us what else is happening at that historic.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got loads of games there. Chain of Command, General Darmay. You've got loads of Lardies there. Dick Bryant, who people who used to read the Courier in the United States will know very well. He's running a Chain of Command game. Just Another Bridge. Bernard Kempinski is doing Chain of Command at Lafayette Causeway, Nick, which is somewhere where we've talked about a lot.
Wow.
Mark Hamill's doing Battle of Milwitz with General Darmay. John Emmett, the famous John Emmett, the man who wins so many awards for his fabulous terrain, is doing James Days with Chain of Command, which should be great. Ed Harding's running Rorke's Drift with Sharp Practice. Eric Boyle's doing a couple of Coastal Patrol games, E-Boat Alley and a Black Knight in the Adriatic. And then we've got Liam Harding. Liam Harding, originally from the Edinburgh area, who's now living out in the Midwest there, is doing the Battle for somewhere that I can't pronounce in Spain with Chain of Command España. And he's also following that up with a last stand at the Palazzo de Ibarra in March 1937. Both of those games from March 1937. Clearly a busy month for the Spanish Civil War in the same way as this is a busy month for us, mate. Joe McGrath running Sour Grapes, the Invasion of Crete with Chain of Command. Patrick Birkebaum and Ed Bowen are doing Cattle Rustling on the Chesapeake with Sharp Practice in 1812. And Patrick is doing Boulevard de la Mort, the Boulevard of Death, which is a Chain of Command game in French Indochina. I have to say, if I was looking to buy a property, I don't think the estate agent said, oh yeah, number 32, Boulevard de la Mort, I might be avoiding it. But there we go. I guess when you're in the French Foreign Legion, you go where you're sent. So I'm sure they're all going to have great times. What I do know as well is there's a Strength and Honour game going on at Historicon. I'm not sure of the name of the guy who's running that, and I don't think that's affiliated with the Lard America zone that's going to be over there, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of other Lardy game stays on display. So Lard is very much in evidence at Historicon.
I absolutely love what you're saying there, Rich. There's a real taste of people taking the rules and applying them to a bit of creative thinking, a bit of artistic thinking, and coming up with something different. You know, the cattle rustling game that Patrick Burke. That sounds brilliant, and I love it when people do things like that. It's so interesting to do something different, because it also means with something like Sharp Practice, of course, you can throw a few quid at a project, and you can just have a bit of a nice sideline that's a bit of fun as well. You can paint something different, you know, do some different buildings. I assume that Patrick's been painting some cattle for that, unless it's a very unsuccessful rustling raid. Or unless it's horses, or so, who knows? Now my imagination is well and truly triggered. I can't wait to find out more about that one.
Knowing the people involved, I think Patrick is actually borrowing Ed Bowen's figures, because Ed's got a fabulous range of figures for that period. So I think Patrick is just freeloading and putting all his energies into the road, the Boulevard of Death, as you would. Who couldn't want to be on the Boulevard of Death? So great. I mean, I'm sorry I'm not there. Actually, I was in my dreams. I had a plan, and I was meant to be in Historicon this year. But of course, with everything that's happened, and it's still happening, it just didn't seem opportune.
This year has been very much standing at the traffic lights on the Boulevard of Death, hasn't it?
It has, crying in the rain.
Sid.
I was just thinking how much I'd like to be in Pennsylvania, which I don't think is what W.C. Fields said. But I still would really like to be in Pennsylvania. But I won't be in November, because I'm going with both of you, our first trio outing together since March 2020. We are going to Steel Lard in Sheffield on the 20th of November. So all three of us are going to be going to that great event with a great wide range of games, plus a night out in the venue that is known universally as the Las Vegas of the North.
Bit of a homecoming for you, Sid. Really, do you think they'll have the bunting out? Do you think what are the national colours of the People's Republic of Yorkshire? Red, I suppose.
Well, red is the normal colour, but hopefully, we might all have a little bit of the stardust of ABC and the Human League as we spend a day in Sheffield. I can only hope so. My excitement is through the roof at the possibility of going back to one of my favourite cities in the world.
That's the look. That's the look. Well,
look of love, in fact.
Should be good fun. Should be great fun. Last time we went to Steel Lard for the first one, it was a truly great trip. So I'm looking forward to being back again in the City of Dreams.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun, which is our first public outing with Flashing Blades, assuming I can get all the terrain finished in October, which I think I should be able to.
Yeah, so you and I are going to be running that game, I think. So you and me, Sid, and an 18-inch square table. Is there any good? How are we going to get anybody else around it? I was thinking about this the other day.
There are some logistical difficulties, not so much with bringing the terrain as getting around the table, but with the power of lard, everything is possible, Nicholas.
They'll have to be prodding you away with big sticks, Nick, to make room for other people.
Well, they normally
do. They do with those ships that are coming into berth, and they keep them away.
That's it. Yeah, they'll be there. That's me. That's me all over. That's my last 3 years in summed up in one sentence.
Well, I have, in true sort of roundwood fashion, produced some really swizzy little measuring sticks, which actually neither of you have seen. We used them at the club, and I painted them specially in the colours of the different factions. I won't bore you with getting them out now, but all will be revealed later. And that's what I'm looking forward to, using all of that terrain and stuff. But I was wondering, what are you most looking forward to in this incredible 2 months of events as we all move from our winter sort of hibernation and isolation of COVID to a smorgasbord of meeting our friends again? What are you most looking forward to?
Coming home again alive at the end of it all.
Yeah, that is one of the things I've been thinking of. Yeah, seeing the other end of it still alive. Yeah, look, obviously, seeing people, seeing our friends, meeting new people, the things that we do normally so many weekends of the year, is going to be great to be getting back to that. But I'll tell you something, aside from that, I'm looking forward to just wandering around the show and maybe buying some stuff. We're going to Salute. We're not going to be running a game now. I've decided I didn't want to run a game now. I don't really want to go and trade there. I just can't be arsed this year, especially with the busy time we've got. So we're going to be going there and getting in a boozer and having a few pints, and people can come and join us and have a drink with us and whatever. More on that in the next Oddcast as we firm up those plans. But I'm also looking forward to just having a wander around and seeing what's new, what's come out, and buying, the odd barrel for Flashing Blades, the odd cat slinger or something, stuff that I don't normally get a chance to do. I'm normally at shows, and as we've seen with the schedule that we've outlined, it's going to be happening again. I'm going to be run off my feet from the start to the end, but being able to go back to Salute and not running a game and not trading is going to be great. Buy some stuff, go to the pub, ship a load of ale. What better day is there than that?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
I remember we did that in 2010.
Yeah.
And I think the hangover lasted about 4 days.
Yeah, I was quite ill. We got lost on the underground system because we couldn't work out what the signs meant.
There are a few stories about that day that probably should stay untold.
Hey, we're 11 years older and wiser, so that can't possibly happen again, can it?
No.
Yeah, we won't go there, I don't think. But actually, the shows are really important, and the game days are hugely important. People spend time and energy in putting a game together, don't they? We know that having a game to share and having a game to play is one of the drivers in the hobby. You're going to play, you're going to put on a game, and so therefore what do? You prepare the terrain, you prepare the playing age, you've got all the figures worked out. That's an energy that goes into that. We've spoken to people time and time again about what motivates them in the hobby, and that's one of the key things. And what I found going to Clotted Lard was that it injected a bit of motivation into me as well. It restored a bit of wargaming mojo in there to see other people and talk to other people and connect to old friends, see lovely toys, to see the things that people have made in lockdown. You know, people are making wonderful game setup, tabletops, terrain items, units, all that kind of stuff, and just to feel all that so close up was wonderful. So Clotted Lard was great for that, and I'm really looking forward to going to the other shows and events over the next few weeks and doing more of the same. And as Rich says, do a bit of shopping. I've done quite a lot of shopping online, but I want to walk around and look at stuff.
Spontaneous purchases only happen when you're in an environment where you can be spontaneous. If I go on Amazon to buy, I went on Amazon yesterday to buy some acrylic paint pens so I can do some stuff on my 2mm armies. But that was a planned purchase. I knew what I wanted. When I go on Amazon, I don't then wander around and see something that I had never even considered, but think, oh, I'll buy that because it's just a bit of fun to do. So that's going to be great. It's the difference between shopping at your supermarket and shopping online. When you shop online, you spend 60 quid. When you go to the supermarket, you spend 100 quid because you bought a load of stuff like gin that you didn't really intend to buy.
Well, I think when I came home from Clotted Lard, within about 24 hours of coming back from Clotted Lard, I probably ordered about 240 quid's worth of stuff online. I got, a couple of mats from Geek Villain, really nice, and I finally went for the road from Total Battle Miniatures. In truth, that alone was 200 quid, and I couldn't really afford to do that. But I was fired up, having been there. So it's dangerous, isn't it? So keep a tight rein on your wallet if you're going to these events. Especially in the pub.
You'll be fired up when your missus sees a credit card statement.
It hasn't arrived. I'm waiting for the road to arrive yet. The thing with Total Battle Miniatures is I think you have to be very patient to get your stuff.
When that road arrives, you'll be leaving on it.
I will be. I'll be laying it down in front of me. Luckily, I've got lots of it, so it will get me a long way from the house.
Sid, what about you? What's your big plan?
What, at the Salute Tour?
What are you looking forward to? Meeting and greeting your fans?
Flans.
Are you going to be doing any baking before the show, Sid?
Bring your flan and show it to Sydney.
That would be something. Oh, Lord. But please don't start that. I mean, that would be horrific. I mean, we'd just be sat there eating. We'd never get any playing done. What am I looking forward to most? I think there's a certain amount of nervousness I've got. So never really, I mean, I've taken games around shows before, but obviously they were with published rules, which already worked. So I think the main thing I'm feeling is nervousness with a sense of horror and fear. I think that's the main sort of thing, sort of taking something which isn't really finished and is really in a playtest stage and doing really kind of a public playtest. And we've done about almost up to 16 games, I think now, of Flashing Blades. We've done it quite a few, but it's still revealing it to the public, I think, is a nerve-wracking moment.
Have you got a plan for when you're revealed as a charlatan?
Well, normally that happens earlier than this. So it'd be really nice to just to meet up with people, and a lot of people which I've spoken to on the phone or emailed or been on virtual chats with, never actually met them, and that would be really nice. I might have met them, 3 or 4 years ago, but not for very long. But there's some people I'm very much looking forward to meeting. That would be really nice to sort of connect with them. And I think also just going around a show has an energy all of its own. So although we won't be doing a game at Salute, it will be really nice to go around and see things that people have been working on during lockdown. I think that's a really positive, reinforcing thing that we all like to do.
Let me ask you a tough question then. You're going to wear a mask?
I shall be doing, probably, yes.
Nicholas?
I don't know. I was in a cinema last night and I took a mask to wear and I didn't wear it, or I wore it for a very brief time. Then I was sitting there drinking my coffee and eating my minstrels, and I thought, this is pointless. I might as well take the bloody thing off. But yeah, I don't know. I could do. It's a really interesting thing, isn't it? I think it's very much around the culture that's in place. I think if many people are, it's very easy not to. But if everybody is, it's very difficult not to.
Yeah.
I don't know what will be happening.
That's my feel. I mean, I always take one when I go out. And in fact, I've sort of arranged my jackets so I've got one in the pocket. And if I go to the supermarket, I tend to always put it on because I think, what cost, what harm? There's no issue. If I go to the pub, I don't, because I'm swilling beer. I don't want that. It's already been filtered. I don't want it filtered again. So it's a difficult one, but I think it's important that people in the hobby, and I know historic on it, it's mandatory. You've got to wear a mask. I think it's important that in the UK, when people attend shows, that they should feel comfortable doing so, and there shouldn't be any stigma attached to it, because it's down to everybody to choose their own level of comfort, isn't it?
I agree. I think it's very much important that people can feel confident and comfortable about wearing a mask if they wish to. I think it's important that these venues are well ventilated. I think gamers should have a bit of sanitizer. If you're running a game at one of these shows, I think it's sensible for you to have some hand gel that people can use and that you can use. Or little things like that, I think, just improve the confidence a little bit.
I sort of take the view that, irrespective of my personal views on masks, which I'm definitely not going to get into here at the moment, I would hate for somebody not to go to a show on the basis that they thought people would not be wearing masks, and that would be wrong.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the main things behind the fact that I would wear a mask, is because I would hate somebody to be put off from the pleasure of going to a show just because they thought people weren't doing that. And that's the sort of thing that is out with any medical reasons pro or anti-masks. It's just a socially acceptable way of behaving. So I think you may not be everyone's, but that's mine.
I think you just made my mind up, actually. I think I'm going to wear a mask because it's about consideration for other people, isn't it? It's not about whether I want to wear a mask. It's about whether other people are put off because I'm not wearing a mask. And I think most people would be glad not to see my face. So I'm fairly responsible with or without a mask. So yeah, I think I'm going to wear a mask on that basis, that it's out of consideration for others.
It would be interesting to know how many of us are recognised when we have our masks on, because we have our faces for radio, after all. Will they recognise my voice?
They probably won't want to hear your voice, mate.
The kind of mask you probably wear, Sid, I doubt if anybody could recognise you, let alone somebody who's heard you online.
It'd be like one of those Italian masked balls.
Yeah. It'd be like I thought you might have a plague doctor mask on. That would be good for flashing blades.
I mean, that would be just wonderful. But
if not slightly distasteful.
If not slightly distasteful at the moment. Yeah, were it not in a global pandemic, which may or may not be continuing, I think a plague doctor mask from the Italian 15th century would be ideal. But unfortunately, at the moment, I think people might take it the wrong way.
Well, you'll have to describe your mask to us so that we know it's you. Otherwise, we'll never know. But we'll have to.
But we can have a trying on session in secret beforehand.
I think maybe we won't. Well, Sydney, I think we've clearly got to the point where you're spouting gibberish. So do you want to round up this show?
Yes, thank you very much. Moving back to the script. So that's all for tonight. Thanks as always, seriously, everyone, for joining us. And we will see you again in the next Oddcast. In the meantime, we hope to see some of you at the events we've been talking about. That would be absolutely great if you could. Please do come along and say hello if you're there. We've missed you all. I think that's very sincere from all three of us. So my thanks to Rich and Nick and to Roger Barraclough and the gang who are going to play us out tonight. So thank you and good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
In tonight's show, Sydney Roundwood was joined by Nick Skinner and Richard Clark, with music by Roger Barraclough and his band.